bottom line word is the one word definition of problems: leadership. Nigeria's problem is systemic and is based on the failure of leadership, which has resulted in a collapse of culture. It's important to engage in this very important subject without getting academic, because it's as basic as it was seen coming. There's nothing happening now that was not projected to happen 25 years ago. And if you go back and listen to or watch interviews that I gave 20-something years ago, you will see how today was laid out as happening. Why did the failure of leadership bring us to this point? It's fairly simple. There are a number of factors that are responsible for how human progress takes place. In the year 2000, I was particularly challenged to explain the state of play in Africa. I'd been in a series of conferences in France about the state of Africa. That season in the 90s was referred to as the season of Afro-pessimism. The world had more or less begun to give up on Africa. And let me tell you, some stuff is going around the internet about how Britain planned to invade and begin to recolonize Africa. Is going on the internet right now. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but it is not completely out of the question from the kind of thought floating around Europe during the season of Afro-pessimism. This conference that I used to go to in France every other year was called by former French Prime Minister Raymond Barre with Aspen Institute France. He brought together some African heads of state, mainly the Francophone ones, some African intellectuals. I guess that's where people like me came in, a couple of business leaders. And we would meet in a small round table and talk about the problems of Africa and where Africa was stuck. Round about this period, an American, Robert Kaplan, wrote a book, The Coming Anarchy, and literally projected West Africa's descent into anarchy, and projected how a number of cleavages developing on the continent. We have a major crisis of legitimacy for the Nigerian state. That's even the starting point. Now let me tell you, a lot of conversation in Nigeria is without proper education, without enough information. And so we look for the single story and rally around the single story. One single story, for example, is there's a plan to Islamize Nigeria, and these security things are around it. I don't know whether there's a plan or not. I can't stand for what I don't know. But what I know for a fact is that that single story narrative is very simplistic. Just think of the fact that these people who are trying to Islamize Nigeria have killed more than 10 times as many Muslims as they have killed of non-Muslims. Why do you Islamize by killing the people who are supposed to do the Islamizing? So it shows a limitation in analysis, of our understanding. The truth is that there's a significant loss of authority over territory, over the Nigerian space by organized government in Nigeria. See, between Kaduna State, Niger State, Zamfara State, and now entering Sokoto State, there's a huge territory. This is Northwest. We're talking about Northeast that has been lost to Boko Haram and all that. I'm talking Northwest. There's a huge territory running into hundreds of miles, bigger than many African countries, that the governments of Nigeria don't have authority over. They just forests run by bandits. They have their own government. They do all kinds of things. And I've often, when I met my friends who are in power, asked, what are you doing? What? You get all kinds of different stories. Some say, look, we've said they should go and bomb those forests. If you bomb the forests, international community will say you're killing civilians. So we are reluctant. We don't want to be taken to an international criminal court for trial after we finish serving as chief of army staff and stuff like that. You hear stuff like that. I said, okay, so what's the strategy? Is Nigeria giving up on these swaths of territory? And people look at you because we don't have rigor in policy making. We don't have rigor in public conversation. Nigerian people don't even know what is going on. And so we reduce it to these simple, single stories, and we all start getting angry and abusing each other on the internet. But we've got more complex issues before us. In southern Nigeria, in the Middle Belt, there have been issues with headsmen. It didn't start today. These issues have been there. You want to look at the British effort to make laws regarding this, going back to the 1940s. So, in every transition economy, you have crises between herdsmen and farmers. It is the nature of the evolution. Now, in Europe and North America, they have resolved those issues by going to ranching. And I am a big subscriber to the fact that we should go that way. I am myself trying to start a ranch. I have even indicated interest to the Ondo State government in wanting to collaborate with people to help revive a ranch that Chief Obafemi Awolowo set up in that part of Western region, now called Ondo State. So, the whole Ruga business, frankly, I don't know when it started. I don't even know the meaning of Ruga. To be frank, that's how little I know of what that whole thing means, Ruga or no Ruga. Ranching is clearly the way to go. It's the way everybody else has gone.